What is going on YouTube? It is Bryce, your favorite A&P IA, back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be finishing the condition inspection on our Velocity, which as you know is an experimental aircraft. If this is your first video, thank you so much for watching along. This is the Velocity. This is one of my owner's aircraft, or I should say one of my client's aircraft, and it is down for a condition inspection as well as a prop overhaul right now. I've got it most of the way finished. I just need to finish up the landing gear today. So I need to pull off the wheels, grease and pack the bearings, check the brakes, all that kind of good stuff, and then the condition inspection is done. So in this video, while I work on that, I'm gonna talk to you about pros and cons of experimental aircraft ownership. I believe in the last video, I talked about general aviation or certified aircraft versus experimental aircraft and which is better and if experimental is right for you. And in this video, I'm gonna focus just on experimentals. The good, the bad, and some of the ugly. So stick around. All right, so quite possibly my first and biggest benefit of owning an experimental aircraft is that they are considerably cheaper than their certified counterparts. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have an experimental aircraft and you build it, you are the manufacturer, which means that when it comes time to maintain it, you can maintain it yourself. Now that's only if you build it, but I will address more on this in a second. Since you own the aircraft yourself and manufactured it, you can do all this maintenance and save yourself a lot of money not having to hire an A&P like me to do the maintenance. Now the other benefit of this is because they're experimental, they don't get annual inspections, they get condition inspections like this one is currently getting. So they don't get taken down for an annual to be done by an IA. An A&P can do the condition inspection. Now, an IA can also do the condition inspection, which I currently am. I'm just not performing my IA duties when I do it. Continue on that affordability ideology leads me to the parts themselves. So for an experimental aircraft, to get something like a glass cockpit, you could be looking as cheap as $10,000 to $12,000, while on a certified aircraft to go with a Garmin G3X or a G5 or a G1000, you could be looking at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 depending on what system you go with. And because experimental aircraft are experimental, and you can go with something like a Dynon experimental for $12,000 to $15,000, you're saving a lot of money and getting the same performance out of your avionics that you would have to spend 4 or 5 times that much in a certified aircraft to get the same thing. And that could be said for wheels, that could be said for magnetos, that can be said for experimental engines, all kinds of things. Now that segues very nicely into my next point, which is modification. Because experimental aircraft are experimental and not certified, you don't have to do certified modifications. So you don't have to get STCs and 337s to modify the aircraft. If the owner decided he wanted to do something as simple as changing this wheel from a Cleveland wheel to a Goodyear, or I don't know, something like that, or if he wanted to put even something silly like putting higher ply tires on it or changing the brakes, he doesn't have to seek an STC for that. All he has to do is go to the Velocity forums and pages and talk to other owners who've modified their airplanes, and voila, he can do that. Hang on, I have to jack this up just a hair more. The brake caliper pads on, so look at this. Whoa. Yeah, there's 2 of them. I didn't see it under there. Good job. Now, those are obviously my 2 biggest pros, but what are my biggest cons? And I'm going to address those. And I'll also, again, like I promised, I will talk about the ugly. But because experimental aircraft are home built, you really only have 2 options of getting one. Either A, buying a kit and building it yourself, or B, buying one that's already finished. Now, a lot of people like to buy half-finished kits or mostly finished kits and just finish the last couple details themselves. And you can do that, but that leads you into a little bit bigger concern, which I'll talk about in my next video on this, of purchasing experimentals, what you should and shouldn't buy. But because you're buying something somebody else built, you want to make sure, and I'm talking obviously in this sense that you're buying something, not building something, you want to make sure that it was built in accordance with all of its drawings and its plans. I say that because not everybody will have the same workmanship standard that you do, or they may have tried to cut corners in certain places to finish the aircraft. So if you're buying one that was built by somebody else that's being sold, you really want to make sure that it's following those drawings and you don't find yourself in a situation where they modified it in a really weird way, or they deviated from the drawings in a really weird way, or they cut corners and now the aircraft is dangerous. Now, I'm not going to say it's surprising, but these bearings and races for an aircraft with as many hours as this has on it actually look pretty good. So I'm not at all upset with those. Which kind of brings me to my next con, which is this right here. If you have an experimental aircraft, right? Well, I mean, that's obviously what this whole video is about, but if you have an why is this not fitting? That's insane. If you have an experimental aircraft, there we go, you cannot use it for hire. So if you have a Vans RV, one of the most successful experimental aircrafts of all time, for example, if you have a Vans RV, you can't use it for hire. You can't use it for any sort of monetary purpose. Now, you can do air shows with it, you can do those kinds of things with it, but you cannot take students or people in it for money, and you cannot take people cross country in it for money. You are also, if I remember correctly, correct me on this if I am wrong, you can't go into certain airspace and operate it in certain places. Now, this all kind of culminates in my last point, which is this. The FAA doesn't really care about experimentals. And I could be wrong on that again, but in my experience, when an experimental crashes, or when an experimental has an engine failure, when something happens and somebody gets hurt, the FAA kind of takes a position of, well, it's an experimental, you knew what you were getting into, that's on you. And it's not just the FAA. A lot of people take that position, and when something does happen, you'll often hear a lot of people say things like, well, it's an experimental, and that's kind of as much thought as they give it. But if it's a situation where it is somebody's fault due to negligence or due to something else, yeah, I kind of wish that people would look at them a little bit harder and, you know, kind of understand why. And I'm not saying regulate. I'm not saying regulate experimentals more than they are regulated. But what I am saying is I wish they got a little bit more attention from people when something does happen, and not just, well, it's an experimental, they knew what they were getting into, it's not a me problem. And I do know some aircraft mechanics, some AMPs that won't work on experimentals, not necessarily for that reason, but more for the reason that depending on who built it, that, like I said earlier, that quality of work thing, some guys don't really want to touch them. I don't have any issue with it, if it's somebody I know, if it's somebody, especially I know who built it, but you know, some of your aircraft mechanics don't like to mess with experimentals because the owner can do a lot of his own maintenance, and the owner can get in there and sort of do whatever he wants to do. So that leads me to the very last thing I want to talk about, which is misinformation about what you can and cannot do as the owner of an experimental. I will say, and I'm going to end the video with this, there is a lot of misinformation, I should say, out there on what you can and cannot do as the owner of an experimental versus being the manufacturer of an experimental. If you buy one that was already built by somebody else, you're not going to have all the same privileges as them. And I am going to do an entire video on that, but in the meantime, make sure you read those regulations. And I will leave with this. I think that experimentals can very much be worth the money. I think they're a great investment, especially if it's like this Velocity with how fast it is and how good the fuel burn is. It outperforms a lot of certified aircraft. So if there's something you want, by all means, I really do recommend buying one. But I also recommend understanding what goes into building one, understanding what goes into buying one that's already been built, and reading all those regulations and understanding exactly what you're getting yourself into with an experimental versus a certified aircraft. So with all that being said, guys, if you like the video, leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, join the Discord, go build something, and be easy.